If the police violated your civil rights, a police misconduct lawyer may be able to sue the police on your behalf to make the police pay for their wrongdoing. Civil rights claims against the police are typically brought through United States Code Section 1983, which creates a cause of action against any person who, while using governmental authority, deprives another person of a federal constitutional or statutory right. So, when the police, who act under governmental authority, violate one of your constitutional rights, for instance, your Fourth Amendment right to be free from unreasonable seizures, you have a legitimate legal claim and can retain a police misconduct lawyer to sue the police. Depending on the specifics of the police misconduct, you may be entitled to significant compensation. If the police violate your civil rights, you may be able to bring a variety of claims against them. Some of these claims include false arrest, excessive force, which is also known as police brutality, denial of a right to a fair trial, false imprisonment, malicious abuse of process, failure to intervene, malicious prosecution, and denial of equal protection. If you initiate a lawsuit against the police, you might be able to sue the officers individually, the police department as a whole, or both. A police misconduct lawyer can assess the specifics of your case to determine the best way to present your legal claims in court. If the police violated your civil rights, you may be entitled to significant compensation. The amount of compensation you receive for a successful claim can widely vary. For example, let's say that the police arrest you for selling drugs. As the police put you in your handcuffs, one of the officers unnecessarily and unreasonably, let's say, pushes you into the patrol car and you hit your head and it's sore, but you don't have visible injuries and you don't need to get medical treatment for it. In this scenario, although the police violated your right to be free from unreasonable and excessive force, the harm that you suffered is minimal. So ultimately, it might not be worth your time and energy to initiate a lawsuit that's not going to result in satisfying compensation. Now, at the other end of the spectrum, say you were arrested for murder and the police hide evidence that someone else is the perpetrator of the crime. And let's say a jury convicts you because they don't see the evidence that was suppressed by the police, and you end up serving years in prison. If you could prove that the police wrongfully withheld evidence that proved your innocence, then obviously you would have a very serious claim against the police for their wrongdoing. And the police might end up paying you millions of dollars for what they did to you. Now, I would say that many police misconduct lawsuits don't involve these extremes of either pennies or millions and millions of dollars. A more common scenario might involve a person who is, let's say, falsely accused by the police of harassing another police officer. The police end up throwing that person to the ground, causing visible bruising, and the person ends up spending, let's say, 24 hours in a holding cell before being released by the judge. So, the person's incarcerated for around 24 hours and has some bruising. Now, in this scenario, although the harm that's suffered doesn't equate to millions of dollars, depending on the circumstances, you could still possibly receive a very solid 5 or 6 figure verdict or settlement from the police. It's impossible to know the exact value of a case with surgical precision, but if you have a potential claim, a police misconduct lawyer can review your case to determine your possible outcomes. If you decide to sue the police, the process will generally be as follows. First, you'll select the police misconduct lawyer whom you'd like to represent you for your lawsuit. Most police misconduct lawyers don't charge clients any out-of-pocket fees to take on a police misconduct case. Instead, most lawyers will take these cases on a contingency basis. In other words, your lawyer will typically just take a percentage of your winnings if you're successful with a lawsuit. Next, after analyzing your case, your lawyer will provide notice to the police that he intends to commence a lawsuit in court. And sometimes at this point, the police will come forward with a reasonable settlement offer. And if that happens, you and your lawyer can discuss the offer and weigh the pros and cons of accepting or rejecting the offer that's given to you. If you decide to take the offer, then at that point, the matter is concluded. However, if you don't accept a pre-suit offer, if it's given to you, your lawyer will file a lawsuit in court. And cases can commence in either federal court or state court. Once the lawsuit commences, both parties will go through the discovery process, which essentially is when both sides show each other the evidence that they have. This can also include depositions, which is where the parties will question witnesses under oath. At this time, your lawyer will also very likely conduct further investigations in effort to obtain other evidence that will help prove that the police violated your rights. Once this discovery process is concluded, the parties may file motions with the court that argue that certain evidence is either sufficient or insufficient for the various claims. If the judge rules that the legal claims that you've brought forth are warranted, then your case might go to trial for a jury to decide whether or not it believes that you have proven your claim. If the jury reaches a verdict in your favor, it will determine the amount of money it believes that you should receive for the police to fairly compensate you for their misconduct. Now, throughout the pendency of a lawsuit, the police may make additional settlement offers to resolve the case. If that happens, you and your lawyer will be able to analyze any of the offers received to determine whether or not they're worth accepting. If you believe the police violated your civil rights, then give me a call for a free consultation. Unlike many other lawyers who take police misconduct cases, my firm focuses on criminal law and issues related to the lawfulness of police conduct. At your free consultation, we can discuss exactly what the police did to you and determine the best course of action to make sure that the police pay for their wrongdoing.